Howdy y'all, it is Cody from the Keepers of Nerdom. How you doing today? I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about and do a review on a interesting piece of Necrons lore and concept in the game of the Ophydian Destroyers. These are a bizarre, crazy looking thing, right? Yeah, we need to just look at these. These are not ones that I've painted. At some point in the near future, I will have up mine in a video that I have painted. I've just got done with them actually this weekend, but I've had this presentation ready for quite a while and wanted to just go through of, are these something that are viable in the game? And they're bizarre, right? They are very, very bizarre. Their lore is getting that pulled up as well because they're quite a beautiful thing. I'm excited to show off my renditions of these things as well. They are repugnant to other Necrons. Ophydian Destroyers echo elements of both the servile Canoptic race and reviled flayed ones, tunneling through solid substance with flickers of dimensional displacement. They burst from their own pocket dimensions into view to ambush, hack, and rend their prey apart. They are armed with hyperphase reap blades, hyperphase threshers, and their own Ophydian claws. So they're kind of this interesting in-between of Canoptic Wraiths, Flayed Ones, and Scorpec Destroyers, and the Ophydian Destroyer is really a Scorpec Destroyer that's not quite as strong, but faster. So let's go through and look at that and like their stats and their abilities, and then look at how do they function comparatively to the other types of units that they fit in against. And I'm not going to compare them against Flayed Ones because Flayed Ones are just a little too slow. They just in a different category, really, they are. They're bigger blobby type character units than anything. So first off, 30 points per model. You can have up to 6 in a group. 10-inch movement. So these things, Scorpec Destroyers move up to 8, and I believe Canoptic Racer are 12. And these things hit on a 3+, and they will not have any ballistic skill ever. So even though it's there, it doesn't really matter at all. They have a strength of 4, a toughness of 4, a wounds total of 3 each, attacks 3 each, leadership 10, save 4+. So their save is not great. It's going to get penetrated pretty easily. So we'll talk about some things to help them. All right. So the thing is here, so every group of 3, you have the 2 of the 3 have hyperphase reap blades. Nope. Yep. And then another one will be every other model is equipped with hyperphase threshers. For every 3 models in this unit, 1 model is equipped with 2 hyperphase reap blades. Okay, so only one of them will get the hyperphase reap blades, and then the others will get the hyperphase threshers, but they all have the Ophydian claws. I apologize. So hyperphase reap blade is +2 strength, so it hits with a 6 strength. All right, so it does get up past that 5 where we need it to, just to get through some of the heavier defended infantry units. AP is -4, so this thing goes through just about everything defensively. Like, these are very similar as far as the hyperphase stuff to the Scorpec Destroyers. In fact, the profiles are identical, but they are actually not the same, just because the Scorpec Destroyer has 5 strength. So when it says +2 and user, it goes from that 5 strength upward. So even though they have the exact same stats according to the stat lines in the weapon profile, they actually are different strengths because of the higher strength on Scorpec Destroyers. So just something to note. But hyperphase reap blade hits very, very hard. Hyperphase threshers are strength 4 at this point. AP -3, which is still really, really good. 2 damage. And each time they fight with it, they get to make 1 additional attack with the weapon. And then Ophydian claws, they are strength user, so still strength 4, -1 AP. So not very good AP, only 1 damage. But each time the bearer fights, it makes 2 additional attacks with this weapon. So your one that has hyperphase reap blades, they get to make 3 attacks with the hyperphase reap blades and 2 additional attacks with the Ophydian claws. Now, granted, they could take all 5 of those as Ophydian claws, but that would be a really big mistake. And your ones with hyperphase threshers get to make 4 attacks with those, and then 2 extras with the Ophydian claws. So that's a lot of attacks. All right, so we're looking at 5 attacks for the hyperphase reap blade character, or that unit, or that model. Sorry, keep using the wrong phrases here. And then the Ophydian claws with the hyperphase threshers, we're looking at 5, 6, 7. No, sorry, 6 right there. 6, yeah. Great stuff, right? That's a lot of attacks. It's a lot of damage coming in. And it's going to shock people to see how much damage is coming into them. So let's go through some of their abilities here. Living Metal, so they can heal as long as they survive. Command Protocols, they gain the access to the ability to boost everything through our command protocols. Reanimations, not very high odds because 3 wounds is just going to be tough unless you like lose 4 or 5 of them. You're not going to gain 1 back very easily because you have to roll 5s and 6s. Hardwired for Destruction. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. So their weapon skill is 3+, but they actually get to reroll the 1s that they roll. So only on a 2 on the first roll do they actually miss. So pretty cool indeed. Hyperphase Reap Blades. All right, yeah, let's talk about this. This is interesting. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack with a Hyperphase Reap Blade, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. And actually, what's funny is the Scorpec Destroyers do not have this. This is different. So their Hyperphase Reap Blades do actually have a whole extra thing that should be up just with the abilities on it up there. I don't understand why it's not. So they get to get even an additional hit off of the Hyperphase Reap Blades, potentially. Pretty crazy. Whip Coil Bodies, each time a melee attack is made against this unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. So they're harder to hit in melee. Pretty neat. Tunneling Horrors, during a deployment, you can set up this unit underground instead of setting it up on the battlefield. If you do, then during the reinforcement steps of one of your movement phases, you can set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. So they can just come out of nowhere, and we'll look at it. If I believe it's Novak, you can get +1 to your charge rolls to make it an 8-inch charge, so they can get pretty nasty against certain groups. It's just scary, right? So let's go through real quick some other things that will help them, that benefit them here. Burning Nightmares, 1 CP. You can basically start them going back underground again. So use the stratagem at the start of your movement phase for 1 CP. Select one Ophydian Destroyers unit from your army that is on the battlefield. Remove them from the battlefield. In the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, you can set that unit back up on the battlefield anywhere that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. If the battle ends and that unit is not on the battlefield, it is destroyed. Okay, so it just allows them to disappear and pop back up where you want them, but yet it still has to be 9 inches away from an opponent. Just something to keep in mind. Now, Disruption Fields, it's only 1 CP. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when a Necron's core unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the strength characteristics of models in that unit. And this is really an important thing because it could give you just enough strength to get into that strength 5 over a toughness 4, or if they have a toughness 5, just at least get to the 5 with your Threshers. Yeah, the Threshers, so that way they're not just users strength 4. So you get up to that strength 5 and either go above it or at least equal it. So pretty important stuff there. We go on to our next thing here, Dimensional Corridor, 1 CP. Use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Select 1 Dynasty Corps infantry unit from your army that's on the battlefield. Remove that unit from the battlefield in the reinforcement steps of this phase. Set the unit back up on the battlefield anywhere that is wholly within 3 inches of a friendly Dynasty Monolith model and more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. So basically, these things have a lot of teleportation capabilities because of just they've got access to quite a bit of teleports in essence, all right? Basically, often they're going underground, though. Blood Rights, 1 CP. This is only Novak, though. And in the fight phase, when a Novak unit from your army is selected to fight, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of models in that unit. So if you go Novak, you can get some pretty nasty things on these, where +1 attack in a unit of 6 and all 6 get to attack, it's going to be disgusting. Like, your opponent's not going to know what hit them. So, for example, Novak does give you this. You get to add 1 to your charge rolls made for units with this code. Each time a model with this code makes a melee attack, if that model made a charge move, was charged or performed a heroic intervention this turn, improve the AP characteristics of that attack by 1. So all of a sudden, even the Ophydian Claws have -2 AP. And then you got -5 AP and -4 AP. You've got some stuff that's going to go through just about anything. And then when Protocol of the Hungry Void becomes active for your army, if every unit in your army has this code, you can select both of those command protocols. And so this is some pretty nasty stuff, right? Let's go through it really quickly. I don't have it up on my my thing right here, but that is Protocol of the Hungry Void. Because this is where things get pretty nasty, right? Nope, I don't know. I apologize, but okay, command protocols. All right, we're going to have to just move on. But needless to say, they can get even more AP. They can get some pretty nasty bonuses through that. So, command protocols. Why can't I find that? That's so simple. Okay, so command protocols are super simple. We are looking for Protocol of the Hungry Void. There we go. Melee attacks with a modified wound roll of 6 improve AP by 1. Add 1 to the strength characteristics of melee attacks if the unit made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention that turn. So you could potentially actually get +2 strength if you charged into something. It's just nutty. The things you can do in Novak with a melee unit like this. So Necrons, as much as they seem like a faction that's really, really good on range, they actually have some crazy, crazy stuff at close combat as well. So let's go through just a quick bit here. We've got several different things. First off, the Lord's Will, for example, second one down, you can select a Dynasty core unit within 9 inches of the model that has it, and then they can reroll a hit roll of 1. They don't necessarily need this because they already do that. So just to keep in mind, it's essentially they already have this built into them, which is nice. But Relentless March, also in the Lord, gives them a 1-inch bonus to their move as long as they're within 6 inches. So that's a good thing. Let's see. An Overlord has My Will Be Done within 9 inches Dynasty Core. They get +1 to their attack's hit roll. So then all of a sudden it goes up by 1. So that's helpful, right? But the only problem is then rerolling ones can't actually happen, which is kind of funny. So you're not actually helping directly in a way, but it's interesting. United in Destruction. United in Destruction. I don't remember who had that. I think it was like the Scorpec Lord. Let's see. Yep, it is. Okay. While a friendly Dynasty Destroyer cult unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model that unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. So you'd have your hit rolls be able to be rerolled of 1s and wound rolls rerolled of 1. That's pretty awesome. So keep that in mind. These are things that can benefit. The only one that really doesn't directly is the Lord's Will, because they already have that. But it's neat to know that they don't actually need what's typically very beneficial to other people, to other groups. So another 2 helpers that can be very, very useful to the Ophydian Destroyers are the Chronomancer, who gives that 5-up invuln save and rerolls charge rolls whenever you choose something within 9 inches that's Dynasty. And that's big. That's huge on its own, because that just makes them actually that much more deadly, because they're going to get to their target. And giving them that 5-up invuln save is just going to make them much tougher. The Canoptic Wraiths have a 4-up invuln save, and so they don't need this, and the Ophydian Destroyers do. And Orkin the Diviner has just that same stuff as well. He can do the Chronomancing ability as well. He's just another version of it as well. And also, that's the big thing. So these are just the 2 notes to that as well. Yep. So let's go through Ophidians versus Wraiths. We've just looked at Ophydian Destroyers. Overall, I think they have a great profile, and somebody recommended them to me, and actually it was funny, then the boarding patrol came out with Ophydian Destroyers, so I'm pretty excited to mess around with them as well. But when we go over, the Canoptic Wraiths are the ones that I've been really sold on. They only hit on a 4+. They have 12-inch movement, so they do have better movement. They have less ability to hit, though. And they can actually... They're able to shoot and declare charge within a turn in which they fell back. They are 35 points versus 30. So they're actually more expensive. And the only thing is they do have a 4-up invuln save. They do have 4 attacks with their Vicious Claws, and you can change those out to whip coils. But it's bizarre. It's really a question of which one do you want. The Canoptic Wraiths are more survivable and defensive. But the Ophydian Destroyers are offensively devastating. So it's the question of which one do you want? Which one do you prefer? And honestly, it's kind of like one of those things. What if you took both and had the Wraiths taking the hits at first, just to leave room for the Ophydian Destroyers to move in? Because the Wraiths have that 4-up invuln save. They still have only 3 wounds, but they have toughness 5, so they're a little tougher. and they can fall back and then charge back into stuff and get the bonuses again. But the Ophydian Destroyers probably are going to kill anything they touch. It's kind of insane, right? And you could equip them with some weapons, and I've been tempted to, even though it's not really a good idea. So the other option, though, too, and this is where I started because these were in some of the what was it, the Elite Edition and Command Edition boxes, I guess? Yeah, it would have been. They came with the Ophydian Destroyers, and so I've got a full 6 squad of them. And they're beautiful models, but what's interesting is they only move 8 inches. They don't hit as hard as the Ophydian Destroyers. They have a higher strength, but that's it. That's your thing. Like, they don't make as many attacks because the Ophydian Destroyers have their claws. They have extra abilities on top of the Scorpex. They have the same wounds. They don't have as much toughness, granted. They're 1 toughness less. So the Scorpex do have more toughness and 1 more strength, but they move slower. They get to reroll hit rolls of 1, so that's good, I guess. But they don't get as many attacks, and there's nothing more frustrating with the Ophydian Destroyers than running up and you've got something epic and then they save out of it because you just don't have very many attacks, whereas the Ophydian Destroyers are going to give you an extra 2 or 3 attacks per person. And that adds up. That adds up. And I think that's important here. So this is that tough decision here, because every single Ophydian Destroyer gets 2 extra attacks with their Ophidian claws. So they have extra bonus attacks, and their Hyperphase Replay has a bonus ability of a 6 scores an additional hit. It's not going to happen all the time, but in a full squad of 6 that actually gets to them, that's 6 attacks at the bare minimum from Hyperphase Replays, which then means 1 out of 6 should connect with this 6 and get you a bonus hit, whereas the Ophydian Destroyers don't. And why don't they have this? They're 30 points. They're the same points as the Ophydian Destroyer. And I, unfortunately, would take the Ophydian Destroyer over the Ophydian Destroyer any day. I think the harder one is Canoptic Wraiths versus the Ophydian Destroyers. And I think it really just depends on what are you needing them for. It's also, the Canoptic Wraith can't teleport with the Monolith because Destroyers are infantry and Canoptic Wraiths are not. Whereas Ophydian Destroyers are infantry corps as well. And yeah, that's just the thing. So which one would you take? I would say of the 3, the lowest tier one actually is the Ophydian Destroyers. And then the other 2, it really just depends on what you want. Do you want a melee unit that's going to hang into a fight for a lot longer than it has any need to? Like, it's going to hang in more like an Adeptus Custodes than any sort of Necron, and it will shock your opponent? Then the Canoptic Wraiths. Do you want something that's going to show up into a melee and just absolutely wreck everything and they're not really sure what just happened? Ophydian Destroyers. That's my big thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed our videos. And I've been Cody from the Keepers Nerdom. Take care.